Hi, thanks for joining today's video. My name is Sahila and I happen to be a transsexual person, and I'm going to be sharing some of my opinions surrounding transgender being utilized as an umbrella term to encompass many different identities and many different things. So just to start out, to preface this is my opinion. I'm not going after other people, to say you can call yourself this, you can't call yourself that. Because I know that my views are seen as pretty offensive and violent and dangerous and transphobic to many people. But I feel like my opinion as a transsexual person is as valid as anyone else's. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. A little back knowledge. Transgender and transsexual used to mean a very specific thing. Back in the day, not that long ago, I would say probably prior to 7-10 years ago, transgender just meant like someone that was like, the whole, you hear born in the wrong body, a man born in a woman's body or a woman born in a man's body. And, they have this dysphoria, this disconnect, and they will end up transitioning to live as their internal self, I guess you could say. So like when I was a kid, I was born a little boy, but I just never identified with that. It didn't work, didn't feel right. I just always felt like a girl or like a woman. So when I was old enough, I transitioned, and here we are. Anyways, so transgender has gone from meaning, a very specific thing of one person of one gender transitioning and living their life as another gender. Now it means a completely other, it's a whole new concept to encompass anyone that doesn't identify with the gender that they were assigned at birth, which now apparently encompasses non-binary and gender non-conforming people, drag queens and drag kings, cross-dressers and transvestites, and a whole slew. I've seen people relate certain furry or leather kinks to being trans as well. So it's pretty crazy. And if you haven't seen one of my prior videos, I myself was a trans activist for about 10 years. I worked in the field of LGBT activism. So I've seen a lot of the craziness firsthand, what's been going on. And also, I've done quite a bit of social work, and I'm a licensed community health worker. So I've had to take a lot of community health working classes or classes surrounding social work to become licensed for the state. Now, mind you, this is for state certification in Oregon and California. I had to take classes, and on the first day of these classes, 2 or 3 different instances over the years, the teachers handed out pamphlets all about different gender pronouns and various different gender identities and sexuality and all of these things. And I was shocked to see that the definition of transgender for all of this, again, for state certification in the state of Oregon or California, people are saying that, to be a drag queen is considered transgender, or to be a cross-dresser, or for any person to exhibit any form of opposite gender behavior, what is seen as traditionally opposite behavior. So now we're seeing people that, even people within the LG part of the LGBT community, a lot of lesbians that before, would have just identified as, kind of more butch or dyke, now they're identifying as trans because they think that because they're slightly more masculine that they must be transgender. Or I've seen other cases of people that are really just feminine gay guys that every once in a while like to get dressed up in drag and put some makeup on, equate that to being a trans person. And the scary part of it is, not that it really bothers me that much personally what people call themselves, but then they go out of their way to appropriate trans victimhood. So I will see people that like will get a haircut and put they, them in their pronouns, as their pronouns in their public profiles. All of a sudden they're transgender, and like their oppression points are like through the roof, and all of a sudden they are like the professional go-to person, the know-it-all on like sex and gender. And you know, I've just seen people that haven't really lived through experiences. Like I knew one person that claimed to be a trans woman that was a male-bodied person that didn't shave, they didn't wear a bra, they didn't wear women's clothing, they didn't wear makeup, they didn't grow their hair out, they had stubble on their face. Like in every way they looked male, but they would get angry when they went in the women's restroom and people would look at them. And it's like, if you don't put any effort into transitioning or actually looking like a woman, or if you don't do anything like any of the other women around, like how can you claim to be a woman or be trans? And just because you're like slightly gender non-conforming, I don't think that's the same as being trans. Now, unfortunately, if this didn't have such negative repercussions, I wouldn't be speaking out. But I feel like I've been driven so up the wall that like, even me as a transsexual person, I'm being driven crazy by people that claim to be trans, or people in the trans community, because it's been years since I myself have been welcome in the trans community. Because it is vile, it's toxic, and there's a lot of garbage people that I don't think are trans. It's just a very convenient way to win victimization points, and there's also an ideological component as well. So a number of years ago, it was understood that if you're a trans person, unless you had some like really serious medical condition, like it was understood that like, okay, you're going to transition, you are going to like do like hormones or surgery or like get new clothes, a new look, like do something to transition to go to one to the other. But now, and that change is based, again, in this space of dysphoria, in this space of discomfort and pain and distress and honestly inner hell that one has to go through to feel like, or to know that you're a woman yet be in a male body, or the other ways. Like, it's quite a torturous experience. And I wouldn't wish that on like anyone. It's really awful. And like if I had the choice, like, to not be trans, like, I would totally do it, because being transgender or being a transsexual person is a very painful experience. That's not to say, like, I have shame around it or anything, but it's just a very painful experience to have to live through that much discord and feeling of inner discord. Now, I say that because there's so many people today that are claiming to be transgender that have no dysphoria. There's no inner sense of wanting to transition or be the other gender, but it's based in politics and ideology. And this isn't, I'm not just saying this. I've had people literally tell me that they've become lesbians or become trans, or they've transitioned as a means to attack the patriarchy. Like, I didn't transition to smash the binary or like burn down the patriarchy. I transitioned because like I had dysphoria and I had no choice. Like, I was going to kill myself unless I could live as a woman. And now there's other people that are using their hairstyles or their body, and I've had people tell me this: I'm using my hair, I'm using my face as a canvas, I'm using my body as a means to fight against the patriarchy, as a means to fight against the gender binary, so that we can free non-binary and trans people from the inherent oppression that is, sex, male and female sex. And I'm not here for that. Like, I'm comfortable as a woman. Like, let people be. So there are a lot of people that, coming from their own selves, that are saying that they don't have dysphoria and they are simply trans out of an ideological conviction. Yes? So another reason why this is really bad is because many transsexual people like myself, or binary trans people, like people that just want to transition and like live as a man or a woman, not as like an in-between gender, or like a cat gender or cloud gender or autism gender. These are all things I've legitimately heard. But then again, I live in Oregon, so there's a lot of weird people here. They really take it to the extremes here. But a lot of the neo-gender people, the genders that you've never heard of before, or typically the non-binary people, a lot of them are very loud, and they have a lot of influence in the community, and they have bullied out most of the transsexuals. Like, literally things I have heard, and things my other transsexual friends have heard, are things like, dysphoria isn't real. Dysphoria is just an idea of whiteness and the patriarchy, or that even the word transgender, or the concept of transitioning, is transphobic, because that's, again, rooted in white patriarchy. And again, it's like everything that like I want to do to live my life is like seen as like I'm licking the boot of cis patriarchal scum, because because I pass, apparently, because I look like a woman. A lot of them, I've gotten a lot of hate in the community because they think that I'm like aspiring to cis normative like values or something, when like I'm just trying to be happy in myself. I'm not trying to make anybody happy. Like, I go around in my saris to make me happy and to remind me of Krishna, and like I like pretty things and beautiful things, and like that's just who I am. I don't do it to make anybody else happy other than myself, the trans community has kicked out all of the transsexuals. I would say transsexual and binary trans people are not welcome in the trans community. And I think the vast majority of people, honestly, that are claiming to be trans today, like, are not trans people. There's a fair amount of gays and lesbians, I think, that are just wanting to be special. Like, a lot of the younger gays and lesbians, like I said, prior with a lesbian, they might have just been a butch or a dyke before, but now I see a lot of the younger kids like pushing them, like, oh no, you're not a lesbian, like you're non-binary, or like you're trans masculine, or you're a trans boy, but like BOI. And it's like, this is nothing that like transsexuals of old, like, was like, I want to be a woman, I want to be a man, like that's it. None of this like trans boy, BOI, or trans femme. It's like, I'm one of the old school transsexuals that just wants to live my life as a woman and leave me alone. And if you want to live as like a cat gender or whatever, like, I have no problem with that. Just don't force it on me, and don't come after me saying that because I medically transitioned that I'm transphobic, or because like I pass, or because I'm binary that I am, enforcing and giving strength to cis hetero values. Like, it's nonsense. So anyways, I think I'm getting a little ranty here. We're almost at 15 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up here. But again, this in no way is meant to, give hate or anything like that to non-binary people, or gender non-conforming people or androgynous people. Like, I want people to live their life as they see fit. I just feel like I had to speak out because it's to the point where I, as a transsexual person, like, I haven't been able to go to a trans space that hasn't either been full of the gender non-conforming and non-binary bullies that kind of police people's binariness, or either there's also been a fair amount of older cross-dressers that creep on the younger kids as well. And because everybody's valid and everybody is special, and because now these days, you know, cross-dresser, transvestite, drag king or drag queen, I've even seen furries and people fetishists compare that to being trans. So just about anybody and everybody has finagled themselves in, or is able to finagle themselves into the trans community. And it's become so flooded that I feel like I can't even go to like a trans space, and I'm a transsexual person. So this is ridiculous. So if it hadn't gotten to a place like this, I feel like I wouldn't have spoken up, because I don't like conflict and I don't want to cause problems for anyone. But trans spaces existed to help trans people, because there are legitimate hurdles that we do face as transsexual people, and there is legitimate discrimination and issues that we face. And a lot of times those spaces, those support groups for trans people, were places that we could go to get connected to the right therapists, to the right doctors, to find the right roommates or landlords so we don't get kicked out if they find out that we're trans, you know. So all of those spaces, again, have been overrun by bullies that say to transition is now transphobic. Old creepy cross-dressers that are creeping on the younger kids, fetishists that even show up in their fetish gear. You know, it's just, and again, no shame for any of that. It's just, where are the trans people supposed to go? And like the resources now, the space, the time, the money that were reserved for trans people are now going to all of these people that I think aren't even trans. So what few resources there were available for transsexual people, it's not even available now, because everything has been flooded by these non-binary people and all of these people who have this desperate desire to be different, and to up their victimization points, or their victim score. So that's just my opinion. I know that's terribly offensive and transphobic and hateful and fascistic for plenty of people out there. I've been told that plenty of times, but this is my YouTube channel, and I feel like if I didn't get this message out there, I was just gonna pop. So I'm gonna put my opinion out there, and you know, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Are you an LGBT person? How have you been impacted by the trans community? I am interested to hear. So anyways, that's all for now, and thank you very much for